All right, let's dive in. Have you ever really stopped to think about how a huge store always seems to have what you're looking for? Or what the actual true cost of the phone in your hand really is? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on two of the biggest, most important, and kind of hidden challenges that every single business has to deal with: managing all their stuff and figuring out the real price of making it.
It all kicks off with a question I know you've asked yourself. You go to the store, you're on a mission for that one specific thing, your favorite coffee, that snack you love, and boom, the shelf is totally empty. It's so frustrating, right? But for the business, it's way more than just frustrating. It's a huge problem. And it all comes down to this incredible balancing act.
So here's the deal. Every company is constantly wrestling with this two-sided problem. On one side, if you have too little stock, you get those empty shelves. That means you're losing sales and you're making customers unhappy, who might just go to your competitor. But on the other side, if you have too much stock, you've got a warehouse full of cash just sitting there, not doing anything. Plus, you're paying a ton for storage. It's a constant tightrope walk.
So, the big question is, how do they solve this puzzle? How do they know that perfect moment to order more stuff? Well, I can tell you it's not guesswork. It's a system. And the heart of that system is a really simple but incredibly powerful idea.
It's called the reorder point. The best way to think about it is like an automatic alarm bell. When the number of items on the shelf drops to a very specific, pre-calculated level, a trigger gets pulled that basically screams, "Hey, time to order more, and you need to do it right now." It takes all the emotion and the guesswork right out of the equation.
But how do they actually calculate that point? Honestly, it's surprisingly simple. Okay, so first you need to know your lead time. That's just how long it takes for a new shipment to show up. Let's say it's 4 weeks. Second, you need to know your average weekly usage, how many you typically sell. We'll call it 20 units. You just multiply them together. 4 weeks times 20 units a week gives you a reorder point of 80. So when your stock hits 80 items, you place a new order, and it should arrive just as you're about to run out. Simple, right?
Well, yeah, almost. That simple formula works like a dream, in a perfect world. But you and I both know the real world is messy and unpredictable. I mean, what happens if a supplier is late? Or what if a product suddenly goes viral on social media and demand just explodes, completely wrecking your average usage number? This is where businesses have to get even smarter. They build in a buffer, and it's called safety stock. It's literally an insurance policy against reality. It's that little bit of extra inventory you keep on hand just in case demand suddenly spikes or a delivery truck gets delayed. It's the secret ingredient that keeps those shelves from going empty. So the formula gets a little upgrade. You still do your basic calculation, but then you add that safety stock right on top. This makes the whole system way more resilient. But here's the thing, that safety stock isn't free. It's cash tied up in a warehouse. And that brings us perfectly to our next big business puzzle. If inventory has hidden costs, what other hidden costs are lurking inside the final price of a product? All right, let's tackle the second major challenge: figuring out what a product truly costs to make. Because think about it, if you don't know your true cost, you can't possibly set the right price. And if you can't set the right price, well, you're probably not going to be in business for very long. Let's just take a bottle of soda. The cost isn't just the water, the sugar, and the plastic for the bottle. What about the electricity that runs the factory, the salary of the security guard at the gate, or what about the HR manager who hired the people on the assembly line? All of those costs have to end up in the price of that soda somehow, and that's where things get really tricky. You see, inside any company that makes things, the work is split up. You've got the departments that are hands-on, physically putting the product together, and then you have all these other departments that work in the background, just keeping the whole machine running smoothly. We can basically group them into two main types. First, you have the production departments. These are the folks in mixing, bottling, or on the assembly line. Their costs are pretty easy to trace to a specific product. But then you have the service or support departments. Think human resources, administration, even the maintenance crew. They never touch the product, but the factory would grind to a halt without them. And that brings us right to the core of the problem. How do you take the entire salary cost of, say, the HR department and fairly and accurately spread it across every single bottle of soda that leaves that factory? This whole process has a name. It's called overhead apportionment. And trust me, it's a huge deal in the world of accounting. So how exactly do accountants slice up this big overhead pie? Well, it turns out there are a few common ways to do it, and they range from super simple and quick to incredibly complex and precise.
Let's take a quick look at the big three. First up is the direct method. It's exactly what it sounds like, the easiest, fastest way to get it done. You just take all the costs from your support teams, HR, admin, you name it, and you assign them directly to the production departments. But here's the catch. It completely ignores the fact that support departments also help each other. HR doesn't just serve the bottling line, they also serve the maintenance crew. So next, we have the step method. This one is a bit more realistic. It allocates the costs in a specific sequence, kind of like a waterfall. You might start by allocating all of admin's costs to every other department, including HR. Then, you allocate HR's total cost to the remaining departments. So it sees some of that teamwork between support departments, but it's a one-way street. Once a department's costs are handed out, it can't get any back.
And finally, we get to the gold standard, the linear algebraic method. Now, don't worry about the math here. The concept is what's so powerful. This method uses a bunch of equations to figure out how every single department supports every other department, all at the same time. It fully gets that HR helps maintenance and maintenance helps HR, creating this complex web. It is by far the most accurate method. But as you can probably guess, it's also the most complicated to set up.
Okay, I know, we've talked about reorder points and complex algebraic methods, but why should any of us actually care? How do all these behind-the-scenes calculations really affect us? It all boils down to a classic trade-off. The direct method is quick and dirty, good enough for a rough estimate. But the algebraic method, even though it's complex, gives a company the most precise cost imaginable. And that precision is absolutely critical when you're setting prices, deciding if a product is even profitable, or figuring out where to invest in your business. So when you put it all together, it comes down to this. Smart inventory management, using those reorder points in safety stock, is what prevents those empty shelves and keeps you, the customer, happy. And accurate costing? That's what leads to fair prices and allows the businesses we rely on to stay healthy and profitable. At the end of the day, these hidden numbers are what empower managers to make thousands of smart, informed decisions that keep our whole economy humming. So the next time you pick something off a shelf, just remember that its price tag tells a story. It's a story of supply chains, factory operations, and some really clever calculations. The real question is, after today, what hidden chapters will you be able to see?